So with that, before I give you some more information, if you have questions, type them in, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. I'm sorry?
Let them know that they can ask questions here.
So you can write in questions from the Q&A tab. So I want to give a Twitter shout out to Lauren, Nicole, Jillian. What to do when you're afraid of everything. That's a great thought. That thought will just make you so upset. So let's just work on that thought for a minute. I'm afraid of everything. That's an all or nothing thought, like you're afraid of everything. So I would go, is it true? Afraid of everything. Yes. Can I absolutely know that it's true? Probably not afraid of everything. I mean, I was able to log onto my computer and listen to this webinar. How do you feel when you believe the thought, I'm afraid of everything? Completely freaked out, like I can't do anything. It reminds me of some of my patients who have agoraphobia. I had one patient who didn't leave her house for 40 years because she was just afraid of everything. And by learning how to do this technique, along with some other simple things, she's able to go out of her house and ultimately drive. Who would you be without that thought? I'd be a lot more relaxed. So turn it around. I'm not afraid of everything. And then list the things you're not afraid of, and you'll find that you will feel so much better. Lots of questions, so thank you for writing in. Dora writes, what about overwhelming sadness and anxiety where you can't pinpoint into one type of ant? So sometimes that you'll actually figure out that there are multiple types of ants. And when you do, that's where the 4 questions can be really helpful. And it may be you have 10, 20, 30, 100 different negative thoughts. Just start with one and begin to clean them out. Because remember what I told you, you have to do 100 of these sheets to really begin to make this automatic in your brain where you're questioning everything. So pick the one that's bothering you the most and then write it out. Identify the type, talk back to it. Then do the 4 questions with it and the turnaround. And it's amazing. The other thing I want to share with you is once you get some skill in how to do this, and you can read the examples on the site. There are lots of examples on the site. I want you to then teach it to someone else because it's just so clear to me that when you teach other people how to do this thing that I'm asking you to do, you really begin to learn it yourself. Will there be a link to print out that page so that we can keep track of our ants? There's actually a feature on that page where you can save them into a file and then you can print them. Are my negative thoughts keeping me from losing weight? I wonder if you meant losing weight. Negative thoughts certainly keep you from losing your way, because it's very interesting, the study I did, the brain imaging study, that when people focused on negative thoughts, what happened is their memory centers dropped and their coordination centers dropped in activity in the brain. So it'll make you more confused and have trouble getting from point A to point B. It also clearly helps. It prevents people from losing weight. And one of the ways, because Carlos, one of our patients, said he was filled with negative thoughts when he first came to see us. Angry, irritable, sad, depressed. And he was 266 pounds. And over the next year, he lost 50 pounds. I'm so proud of him. He looks great. And he said it was learning how to correct the negative thoughts that really helped me. But in addition, by having brain healthy habits, by sleeping, eating the right food, eating often enough, he said when my blood sugar didn't drop low, the ants didn't come out. He said when I had the bad habits, the ants came out a lot. Will this work if you have chronic post-traumatic stress disorder? Absolutely. It'll be very helpful for people who've been traumatized, because what happens is when you get traumatized, that clearly it's an awful, terrible thing, but it gets set in your brain, and you then, by remembering it constantly and not correcting the negative thoughts that went with it, you end up re-traumatizing yourself repeatedly. Now, if you've had PTSD, we actually see a very specific pattern in the brain. That's what we call the diamond pattern, where the emotional brain gets fired up. And we've seen cognitive therapy help, but also a treatment technique called EMDR can help. And you can find more information about EMDR at the emdria.org website, the emdria.org website. What to do when your shoulders are always standing up by your ears and when you put them down. 5 seconds later, you catch yourself doing the same thing over and over again. One, you want to visit our body gym and make sure you're doing adequate exercises to get your posture as good as it can be. My posture is really terrible. And by working out, it's gotten so much better. And if it's a negative habit that comes, for example, when you're stressed, is learning to go to our relaxation room and learn how to do the deep diaphragmatic breathing exercises. So helpful. In fact, there's this great exercise that will actually show you how to breathe and at what pace to breathe in the relaxation room. What about facing negative thoughts or knowing that a relationship is affecting you negatively or not being good for you? If you turn it around, would you always accept things? This is a very good question. So say you're with an abusive person. Is it true? Yes. Can I absolutely know that it's true? Yes. I mean, if it's not right, correcting the negative thoughts doesn't make it right. I just want you to think in the most accurate ways possible. But I tell you, this has been so helpful for me with my wife, who I adore. But, sometimes, she might snap at me, and my first thought is she always snaps at me. But when I just immediately correct it, it's so helpful. And then I do the turnaround. She always snaps at me. She doesn't always snap at me. Well, it's true. Or if I do the turnaround to myself, I always snap at her. Well, it's not true. But sometimes I probably do snap at her. And it just helps me to relax and be more rational in the relationship, which is what I want. But if she was consistently mean to me, I'm going to point that out. And I'm going to have a talk with her. And I'm not going to stay in a chronically abusive relationship. Now, don't run from it. Get help. Often, we have treated more abusive people at the Amen clinics than you can imagine. And what we often find, people who are abusive may have had a brain injury, they have bipolar disorder, they have untreated ADD, that getting their brain balanced can be so helpful. That's a great question. How do you teach a child with Asperger's about anteaters? So important. I wrote a book called Mind Coach, How to Teach Kids to Think Positive and Feel Good. Asperger kids are harder because they get stuck on negative thoughts and negative behaviors. But many Asperger kids are bright. And if you teach them this concept, and I go on the website with them, and a lot of people on our community, they use their membership, and they also help their kids with it. It's like, wow, it's a great video. Watch this with me. Or here's an exercise. And take them to the Kill the Ants room. Whenever you feel sad, mad, nervous, or out of control, just write down the thought, identify it, and correct it. Now, if they're having a 3-hour tantrum because something happened that was unexpected, it's not the time to teach them about it. The time to teach them about it is when they're calm and they have that open spirit. So when they're in one of the really difficult moments, they can use it as a resource. And I find this is true. Don't just try to use this when you're upset. If you get to do 100 of the exercises, you'll find you'll be upset a lot less than you were. And when you get into a crisis moment, you'll have some skill on how to deal with it. Will these slides be available on your website? That's an interesting question. I think they will because we store the webinars. Let me just ask, can we store the webinars?
The slides will be available if they download the...
So the slides will be available if you download the presentation and you can watch the whole thing. Plus, if you go to the Kill the Ants room, it's all this information is there for you. I get up in the middle of the night with the need to go to the restroom, with or without a dream. I am then overtaken by ants and can't sleep for an hour or two. Any suggestions on what to do? This is what I want you to do. So you get up, you go to the restroom, you come back, all the negative thoughts come in. The first thing I want you to do is imagine a big broom. Comes and sweeps the ants away, and all you can think about, it's a rule, is the letter 1. You can't think about anything else. I don't care what color. You can make it in 3D. You can put zebra stripes on it. Only thing you can think about is the letter 1. This helps to discipline your mind because now is not the time to be thinking about negative things. It's so effective. My patients love this technique. Now, if you have to add something in it to make it a little stronger, slow, deep breaths. Take a breath. Hold it for like 2 seconds. Take 5 seconds to blow it out. Big broom, sweeping out any of the negative things, focused on the letter 1. That's the rule. Now, if your mind will not allow it to be disciplined, then you can get up, write down the thought, and do the questions. But I wouldn't recommend it in the middle of the night, because if you don't sleep, you have lower overall blood flow to your brain, more ants, more bad decisions. It works. I mean, it works for me, and we also on the site, another thing you can do if you're having trouble sleeping in the relaxation room, one of my favorite parts of the whole site is there are 6 individual hypnosis sessions I do for you that you can listen to, and there's one particularly for sleep.